Hey guys, it's Allison Waken and I am back today with another crafty scrapbooking video. Today I am working on a spread for my Project Life album that is using the sketches on Studio Calico's blog. So let's get started. So I have this photo open and I'm going to make sure that it's sized to 9 inches by 12 inches because that's the size of my pages. And what I'm wanting to do is to break this down into smaller sizes for easier printing. So I'm going to make a new guide, and I like just telling the guide where to go based on the inches on the ruler. So I made a vertical guide at 6 inches, and then I'm going to make a horizontal guide at 4 inches. So that top left spot is a 4 by 6 inch photo, and the right is 3 by 4 because of the 9 by 12 size. So here you can see I have 3 4 by 6s and 3 3 by 4s. So this makes it really easy to just crop these photos into the proper sizes. So I could also do a new guide here and break them all up, but since I don't use guides when I cut, I'm just going to leave the 4 by 6s as is and then crop those down. And then I'll put the 2 3 by 4s on their own, the 3 3 by 4s on their own 4 by 6 page. So I'm going to crop this 4 by 6 down, and I'm going to save it as a new photo, making sure there that it was the right size. And then I'm just going to continue to do the others. So I just wanted to show how I did this for a large photo like this, the same way that I showed in a previous video. So here I'm going to go down and do the smaller photos, and I'm going to just drag it over like I do with my other photos onto the 4 by 6 sheet and print and trim those out. So it just makes it really easy and cheap to print that way instead of printing on a larger size piece of paper, especially if you don't have a large format printer. So I have all my photos trimmed out and ready to go, and I am putting this large photo on the left-hand side. I just love how this black and white looks very dramatic cut up in these smaller photos like this. And I think I'm going to add these gold lightning bolts and leave that as is on that side. So on this other side, I have a few more photos to work with, and I'm going to include some of these fun cards and a title. And as I mentioned, I'm working off of a sketch based on a layout that Kelly Noel did on the Studio Calico blog. And I like how she used the squares. So instead of using the squares for photos, I'm using them for my title. And I just printed out the digital alpha from a Studio Calico digital shop and printed those out. So I put some washi tape up on the top here. And the thing that I love about washi tape is that I've mentioned this before, that it comes off without tearing your paper apart. Now, sometimes I've used certain washi tapes and it has torn the paper, but I like to live dangerously and remove it if I'm not really satisfied with how it looks. And it worked this time for me. So I'm just adding little embellishments here. That photo is pretty dramatic and takes up brings your eye there first, so I didn't want to make the rest of the layout too busy. Now I'm just going to make sure that these letters are positioned just right, and I'm actually just going to staple them on. Again, that's living a little dangerously because once you staple, it can kind of move the letters some, but I just wanted the look of the staples there and didn't feel like pulling out my tape gun. So like I said, I was living dangerously. Again, I'm going to do some journaling on the back of a card. I don't always like handwriting on the front, and maybe it was just like a little personal sentiment or something, but I always include a little notation on the front of the card if there's journaling on the back, so that when somebody's looking at it later, they know that there's something on the back of the card. I'm going to glue on these lightning bolts just so that they don't move around in the pocket once they're on. So I'm going to glue them on and just let them sit and dry, and then I am going to fill the pockets. This is the best part. And when you're doing a split photo like this, sometimes they don't fit perfectly. That's why landscape photos are good for this, because you don't really notice when there's a little bit trimmed off. But pay attention to what you're trimming if it doesn't fit. So if it's an outside photo, always trim the outside portion of it because you're not going to miss that. This is just the cloud shot, so you're not really going to see the tiniest bit, and it's actually okay because that photo split up, so you're kind of just taking away what would normally be in that space anyway, if that makes sense. So it doesn't really bother me when these are cut up. Now, if it was somebody's face and I was cutting off like half their eye or something, that would be a difference, and I might try to resize the photo. But in this case, like I said, it's just landscaping, so you won't really notice in the long run once they're done. So that page is in, and I'm going to resize some of these and slip them in. And I like them nice and tight because they don't fall out, but it does make it hard to put them in sometimes if you're not wanting to trim them. And that's it. My page is done, my spread is done, and this one, remember, has a back side, and I'll insert those photos back in there and put it in the album. I just like to work with a blank slate when I'm scrapbooking. If you have any questions, please ask below, or if you have any requests of videos to do in the future, I would love to hear them. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.